Hello, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. We wanted to invite you here to help you learn more about what FZY tour looks like before the applications come out on Monday. Before we start, I just want to introduce myself and the team that I've got here with me tonight. My name is Jake Meyer. I am a program coordinator at FZY and I am head of Israel Tour. I went on tour as a Khanich in 2017 and I led tour as a Madrich in 2023. And I have a massive passion and love for Israel. And I'm driven by the idea of giving the youth of today the same incredible experiences that I had. I'm joined by FZY's Mazkira Lucy Ross, FZY's Executive Director Joel Jacobs, Aaron Gillis from our tour partnership with Talim over in Israel, and Adam Waters from UJIA, who are partners here in the UK. And each of them will be heading up different parts of tonight, and then we will field questions together as a group at the end. So just what's on the agenda tonight. Who are FZY? We're going to tell you what we do and why we do it, what we believe in. Who do we partner with and how do we work together? We're lucky enough to have our two main partners joining us tonight, telling you everything that's going to be going on. Of course, safety and security, the $1 million question. We will go into detail a few different areas, mostly covered by Joel, Aaron, and Adam. Program and itinerary, how do we build our programs? What do we feel is essential to include? Communication, how do we speak with you guys throughout tour? Then back to another question on everyone's lips, insurance policies and how we will cover your child. Then pricing and how financial assistance works. We believe that price should never be a reason not to send your child on tour. So we're going to explain the ways that you can apply for financial assistance through FZY. And after the cancellation policy at the end, we will leave time to field any of your questions and we'll be happy to answer whatever we haven't answered.
Hi everyone, I'm Lucy. As Jake said, I am the Mazkira FZY in my second year working for the movement. And I just wanted to explain for those that maybe don't know FZY, haven't sent their child on a programme, who we are, what our values are and what we do. So FZY stands for the Federation of Zionist Youth. We are the oldest and largest Zionist youth movement in the UK. And we kind of have like three pillars that guides us, which is Judaism, Zionism and pluralism. Which sort of means with our pluralism, we take people who are secular, Orthodox, Reform, Masorti, whatever it may be. We like to create an inclusive space and politically pluralist, like right wing, left wing, whatever that may be, in a Zionist framework. We love to have those discussions and we operate all across the UK. We are not just an Israel tour, which is why you're here, but we also do offer gap year programs in Israel, summer camps, Israel solidarity trips, Hadracha leadership course, weekend seminars, university student trips, other Tzedakah projects and things like that. We have four main aims, which is Magan, meaning like defense, Tarbut, meaning culture, Tzedakah, meaning sort of like giving back and charity work, and Aliyah Nimshechet, kind of moving to Israel and working towards the betterment of the state almost. So that's a bit about our aims, our ideology, and other programs that we do outside of Israel Tour. So just to explain a bit about the partnerships on Israel Tour, it's not just FZY by itself, which is why there is 5 of us on this call. There's FZY, there's Talim, which is here represented by Aaron, and Talim, they build sort of the programming, there are kind of land partners out there who have the connections, have the contacts, and they build the program, an educational tour in Israel for us. And then we work with the UJIA Israel Experience and the Jewish Agency for Israel, who are sort of the umbrella of Israel Tour in the UK, overseeing all Israel Tour programs across the country. So what exactly, I guess, is FZY's involvement in this process? I've just named 3 organizations, but what do we do? So as I mentioned, our ideology, So we kind of build the Israel Tour program with those values, with our ideology, and we build that educational journey in the program, if that's through places we go, people they meet, sessions we run. We are also the people that communicate with you guys, the families, through daily updates on Israel Tour. Before that, if you know we need to make certain plans or arrangements for your children, we are the primary communication with you for the program. Our Madrachim training and recruitment, all of the Madrachim are picked by FZY, and we have our own training program which starts really right now up until Israel Tour, which is all done via FZY. We do the whole application process with you guys, from the forms, from installment plans, all of the medical information we need. That is all done through us. As well as our travel insurance, ATOL license, and we are operating FZY Tour. So we really provide the full journey. Yeah.
Hi. Hi everyone, my name is Adam. I work for UJI Israel Experience. So our role in this partnership is we're a department of the Jewish Agency for Israel, and we're supported by the charity in the UK, UJIA. And we oversee the whole network of Israel tours, so supporting FZY and all the other youth movements who go out. We do that in a number of ways. We coordinate flights, so all of the flights for all the tours are coordinated through the Jewish Agency. We have a group contract with LR. We also oversee crisis management. So over the course of the summer, we're there supporting all the groups on the ground, and also making sure that as a UK community, our response to anything is coordinated. As an example, you will hopefully be sending your children on FZY, but it could be that you have a niece or a nephew who's going on a Noam trip, and they have a best friend who's going on a Bnei Akiva tour. So our role is to make sure that the whole UK community is coordinated, and any response to anything is clearly dealt with and overseen, and that we try and make sure that the information is got out to the parents in as quick and clear manner as possible. We also support all the youth movements with training of their madrachim. So as well as the training that they'll receive from FZY, there's also a whole madrachim's training process, which involves it begins actually in about a week's time, with different training sessions in the UK, different seminars, online training, and then a week or two before the tour actually launches, we take all of the madrachim from across the youth movements to Israel for a week of intense training in Israel, where they do a number of different things, which I'll go into relevant slides later on. We also oversee the application process, so that's all done centrally, and make sure that everyone hopefully has a nice smooth experience getting onto Israel Tour.
Hello everyone, my name is Aaron. I run the incoming tourism department at Tzlalim. I'm originally from London. I've been living in Israel for the past 19 years. Tzlalim has been around. I've been working at Tzlalim for the past 12 years, but the company has been around since the early 1980s. Where we bring groups to Israel from all over the world, whether it be America, South Africa, or various countries in Europe, and of course the UK, which is what we're talking about now. And we run, as Lucy said, the land arrangements on the ground. So that's logistics, booking accommodation, arranging food, making sure people's dietary requirements are taken care of. Also responsible for the security arrangements on the ground, which in a second we'll go into more detail about how we know what security is necessary for different areas of the country, or what guidelines we need to follow. That's not something that we decide, but rather is decided by regulated bodies in Israel that we will talk about in the next couple of slides. We also provide the medical insurance, which we will talk more about later. And we're involved with the Madrichim training and recruitment for the UK Madrichim as well, but more with a focus on the Israeli staff. So each tour will have both staff Madrichim from the UK and also from Israel, including a qualified tour guide and a qualified first aider. So we take care of all the qualifications for the Israeli staff. So now we'll go into a bit more detail about the safety and security arrangements on the ground in Israel. So for the safety and security guidelines, we follow the rules of an organization called Cheder Matzav, which translates to the situation room. It's also known as Moked Teva, the kind of interchangeable names for the same thing. They're part of the Chevra L'Haganat HaTeva, which is the Society for the Protection of Nature. But in this context, it's more to do with safety and security. But the reason why they're part of that body is because they decide not only, you need a specific security guard or a specific first aider or a specific medic or paramedic in a given situation. It's also which hikes are safe to do. For example, now in the winter, when it's raining, they'll tell us which hikes a group is able to do on a given day based on the weather. So there's kind of an all-encompassing safety and security regulations. They're connected with the IDF and primarily the Home Front Command, who provide the security guidelines, what areas of the country, and again, we'll go into this in more detail shortly, what areas are defined as green or yellow or orange or red. And as a result, they'll tell us which areas of the country we can and can't go to. This was obviously very relevant in the past year and in the program in the FZY tour in 2024, where there were certain, albeit quite small areas of the country which we weren't able to visit based on their guidelines. And it's not just, those guidelines are not just set before the program and we go according to it. It's every single day updated in a real-time basis. And that includes making adjustments to the itinerary, can be just weather related. So if it's too hot to do a certain activity, then we won't do it. But also if there's been some sort of security update, we will be passed on that information from the IDF, from the police, from the Israeli ambulance service, Magen David Adom, all in real time. It will be passed on to us. We pay a membership to be part of this organization, and we get those updates, and immediately those updates are then passed on to the staff on the ground with each tour. Yeah.
So, as Aaron mentioned, everything is run through the Cheder Matzav and Moked Teva every day, and part of the mindset, obviously, behind all of this is that the safety and security and welfare of all participants is our #1 priority. So there's a number of things that happen across the Israel tours. Some of these are things that have been in place for a number of years. Some of these were things which have been additional measures that have been put in place over the last year and were in place over the summer. I think it's also really important to say that we were incredibly proud that in the summer just gone, summer 2024, across the UJI Israel Experience Israel Tour network, and obviously including a very significant number going through FZY, we managed to have a safe and secure summer. And we're very proud of the infrastructures and the security and the additional trainings that were put in place to make sure that that happened, and that every child was able to really thoroughly enjoy their experience in Israel, despite what was obviously a very challenging year. So there's a number of things that are in place. So on every bus, there'll be 4 madrichim with 2 coordinators assigned to each group. An armed security guard will travel with the group at all times. And just to clarify as well, these are measures that were put in place for the summer just gone. And at this moment, this is what we are planning for. But obviously, we're in December, and this program isn't for a number of months. The situation probably will develop and change over the course of the next few months, and this is all, everything is decided based on security advice from the security experts in Israel. So it could be that some measures might be able to be relaxed over the coming months, which we all hope for, or it could be that this is exactly what it will look like in the summer, or there could be additional measures we need to put in place. We will respond and we will adjust to whatever the guidance is from the security professionals. So staff will have extra training in safety and security protocols. They'll also have knowledge of where all the shelters are, where across their itinerary, where they're going. There will be FZY and Tlalim staff available on the ground in Israel 24/7, as well as obviously support staff at UJIA and the Jewish Agency in the UK. There will be a security briefing for participants, so the children will know exactly what they need to do in any given moment and they'll be given that information. As Aaron has mentioned, programs are planned according to the directives of the Matzav. Groups will remain inside the green zones, so there are maps of Israel of the areas that you are allowed to go to at any given moment, and the groups will remain within those green zones. This year, the group will not sleep or visit the West Bank, East Jerusalem, or other areas where there traditionally is raised tension. And I think this is a key one. This is one of the reasons why we were so successful at giving a safe and secure summer last year, and this is obviously a very ably supported by Tlalim on the ground, is when deemed appropriate, we will take steps over and above the guidance of Cheder Matzav and the Home Front Command. So that security guidance that we take is the absolute bare minimum that will be in place, and they are the experts. They will tell us exactly what is and isn't allowed, but there may be times where we go over and above that guidance just to be more risk averse and really ensure that everything is as safe and secure as possible.
Thank you, Adam. I'll introduce myself. My name is Joel. I'm the Executive Director of FZY, which means that I'm overall responsible for all of our staff and all of our programming, both in the UK, Israel, and elsewhere in the world. I was lucky enough to be a participant in 1997, a madrich, a leader on the program in 2003, and have been working for FZY, or one of our partner organizations, for the last 21 years. As you can tell from my accent, I grew up in London, but actually have been living in Israel for the last 16 years. And what I want to do now for the next few minutes is also just to talk you through a little bit about the realities of Israel today. As you know, with lots that people maybe see on the media and see online on social media, on television, through newspapers. And we're not here now to kind of like share like our political opinions. We just want to share with you some facts and some figures so that you can understand what the situation really is like right now in Israel today. So first, this is all this information on the next few slides are correct as of a couple of hours ago. I don't believe anything has changed in the last couple of hours, but obviously we had to like finalize the slides at some point. There's two maps here on this slide. The one on the left is from the Cheder Matzav, the organization that Aaron spoke about, and the one on the right is from the Home Front Command. As you can see in both of these maps, they're very similar in the way that things are built. Anything area in green on the left map and the Cheder Matzav means they're areas that as things stand as of right now are areas in the country that we can go to, that we can visit. There may be certain security regulations that we need to put in place in some of those areas, but they're places which in theory we are allowed to visit. And you can see that's pretty much the entirety of the country. You'll see maybe just up in the north, there's a few kilometers on the northern border, which is currently not allowed for her to visit, and a couple of kilometers around the Gazan border, where that's the case. But generally speaking, the vast majority of the country currently is deemed safe by the Cheder Matzav and also the Home Front Command as well, which the Home Front Command really talks to Israelis, people like myself and Aaron who live in Israel. This is where we would go to get advice as to like what we're allowed to do, where it's safe, etc. So right now, if the program was to be running today, the only areas that we would not be allowed to go to is the northern border and areas around Gaza. And we've already said that we know, as we said on a slide or two ago, that we won't be going to the West Bank, we won't be going to East Jerusalem and some of those areas as well, even if the Cheder Matzav has said that that's okay. They're areas that we won't be going to. Just so you know that these maps are updated on an hourly, daily basis. If we were doing this a few weeks ago, the map wouldn't have looked like this. In fact, the map for the Cheder Matzav, just to make you aware, would have been somewhere between Tel Aviv and Haifa. That's where the green would have stopped. And at various points throughout the last year, and at various points over many years, like the maps are changing according to what is safe at any given time. So I want to kind of like delve a little bit into kind of like two different areas where you as parents, I'm sure, may have some concerns. One is about sirens, rockets, projectiles, which may come into the country, which obviously over the past 15 months since October 7th, there has been some. So for those of you which may are not aware, 9 days ago, a ceasefire came into place with Hezbollah, who have been fighting, the Israeli army have been fighting with on the northern border in Lebanon. And since that time, over the last 9 days, there has been less, on average over these last 9 days, there's been less than one incident a day in the whole country of Israel where a siren has been triggered. So just to put that into perspective, you go back, a month, you go back 6 months, we're talking about dozens of sirens which are happening on a daily basis. So what's happening really is that there's a ceasefire in place, the ceasefire is holding, and on those very, very few occasions over these last 9 days where there has been a siren triggered, they've only been triggered in areas which are green, which we saw in that last slide, or projectiles which didn't even enter into Israeli airspace. So over the last 9 days, we've seen a ceasefire which has been holding. And one of the things that what we can say, how does this really compare to the past? Unfortunately, they're pretty much, in Israel's, history, there very rarely is a time where there's been 100% peace. That even during times which we look back at peace, like maybe the couple of years before 2020, or October 7, 2023, which we would have looked at as times where there was no war, there was no operation that was happening. Unfortunately, there always were a number of sirens which were heard in the country. But again, most of those all occurred in very specific areas, which is why the Cheder Matzav and the Home Front Command come up with their maps from. What we can say is in 2014, which was a time when there was a war broke out actually a couple of days into our program. We had FZY had 11 buses of participants here, over 400 participants, and all of them had a safe and meaningful tour there. Last summer, as I mentioned before, like across all the UJA groups, there were several hundred people. FZY had like 5 tour groups, about 200 people who were in the country over this last summer. Not a single group, not a single person heard a siren at any point, even though we weren't at that time even at a point of a ceasefire, which we are in now. No siren was heard because of the way that we build the programming. Like we take people to areas which are deemed safe. And I can say that as you can see over the last 10 summers, which we've been running programming, whether that's in times of war, whether that's in times of peace. We've taken FZY has brought over 2,750 young people to Israel, collectively spending more than 60,000 days in the country, and not a single one of them at any point has heard a siren over that time. So that's a little bit to kind of explain about that. And I know that the other potential concern may be one of terror attacks. Obviously, what I was talking about on the last page, on the last slide, is a terror attack. But I'm talking about not like a projectile coming from Gaza or from Lebanon or elsewhere. I'm talking about here like a terror attack, a different type of terror attack, like a close encounter terror attack, I assume. What we haven't seen, there has been, these are the statistics taken from the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There hasn't been an uptick of terror attacks in Israel since October 7. That hasn't been the case. In fact, it's pretty much over the last 3-4 years, even into the couple of years before October 7th, during times of fair, peaceful times. Like those numbers have just not risen at all. In fact, they're down, like fairly considerably down from a few years ago, even in 2021. And I just want to, there's 2 figures which I put here as well in 2002 and 2003, which I know is 20 plus years ago now. But the reason why I wanted to bring that to you is this was at the time of the second Intifada, where unfortunately, the Second Intifada, there were like terror attacks. That was the way that that war was being fought, was via terror attacks. And during that time, FZY were able to bring, I think we brought during that time 13 different tour groups to Israel, and again, like safely and in a secure way. Again, all of this, the way that we've been able to do this in the past and we'll be able to do this in the future, is all by following the directives of the Cheder Matzav and the Home Front Command that Aaron spoke about. But we wanted to kind of like put a little bit in together to try and get you to understand what the reality is currently as we speak today and right now and over the past little while in Israel, and to compare that to previous years as well. I'm going to pass over to Adam to share a little bit more.
Thanks a lot. So yeah, I just wanted to go over a few different things that sort of make up the decision-making process as to why, as a whole network, we're able to run Israel tours. I think one of the key things here really to get across is that whilst for your children, we want them to go and feel like they are on a bus with their peers in this bubble of youth empowerment with their young madrichim, and having a really positive experience in a youth movement, and that is what we want them to feel like. There is a huge infrastructure in place that supports all of the tours, not only the fantastic work that FZY do to support those tours, and also Tlalim on the ground, but also through the UJI Israel Experience and Jewish Agency partnership. So there is a huge amount of time and effort that goes into signing off the Israel tour launch process, which will begin on Monday morning, and detailed risk analysis are undertaken, legal guidance is sought, insurances are put in place, and security updates are received. So we at UJI Israel Experience are not security experts. FZY are not the security experts. Tlalim are not the security experts. We all take guidance from security experts. There's a security division built in within the Jewish Agency, and we also speak to Pikud Ha'aref and Cheder Matzav, and all of those organizations to get the approval before anything is signed off, and everything is signed off by the Jewish Agency as well. We also put a lot of effort into making sure that you as parents are protected when you sign up for an Israel tour program. So there's a lot of measures in place to safeguard your finances in the event that something were to change and the tour would have to be cancelled. We do our best to protect as much of your money as possible, and we also have all the relevant insurances in place. We'll discuss a bit more about insurance on the next few slides. There's also a lot of protections around the flights, and we have that sort of group contract with El Al, which again is managed through the Jewish Agency, and there's really sort of high level infrastructure here supporting the tour. We have high level contacts with the British Embassy, the Israeli embassy here in the UK, and the Israeli government over in Israel, thanks to those partnerships. And we're also part of a global network. This is, the support we're able to give as well is coordinating with American organizations who are sending significant numbers of tours every year. And whilst, as I said, we want your child to feel like they are in that youth empowerment bubble on one bus on one FZY tour, Israel tours over the course of that summer are a huge infrastructure for Israel and for global Jewry. So there is a huge amount of support that goes into this. One of the key factors that we've had to really take a lot of time looking into in the UK has been the FCDO guidance, the Foreign Office guidance from the British government, which since October the 7th has advised for many parts of Israel that only essential travel should take place. And I know if you've tried to go to Israel over the last, particularly closer to October the 7th, you might have had difficulty finding insurance because of that. It had different ramifications. But I know a lot of people, a question that came up last year, and I'm sure will come up this year, is why are tours able to go ahead when the Foreign Office guidance says only essential travel to Israel? So the key thing to understand there is the nature of that guidance. The Foreign Office gives guidance. There's no legal issue here. There is nothing more than just travel guidance for you as a parent and us as organizations to take into account. And we do, as I mentioned, a huge amount of work, and we take guidance from the security professionals on the ground in Israel. We run everything, the British Embassy is aware of the trips, and we run everything through them. And essentially, there is no issue with going ahead at all. If the guidance, regardless of the guidance, we will have insurances in place, and the tour will run. And that is because of the high level of risk analysis and work that has gone into making sure the tour can run safely and securely. However, there is in any international travel, and we know obviously, as Joel's touched upon, that over the last since Israel's birth, there have been risks involved in travel. We have done all we can to mitigate those risks and provide a safe and secure environment, and we are very confident of our ability to do that. And we have many numbers of years of experience amongst the whole network, as well as I said, a huge support infrastructure. But you, as a parent, have to make the decision that you are most comfortable with. And if you want to have a look at the Foreign Office guidance, take that into account. Absolutely, we encourage you to do so. You need to know what that says. If you go onto the UJI website, and I think also on the FZY website, and also during the application process, there's a detailed FAQ document and questions, one of which details in a lot more detail this FCDO guidance question as to why we're confident that we are able to run these tours in a safe and secure manner. So I encourage you to read that. You'll have to read it as part of the application process anyway, and tick that you have done so. But we're confident in the infrastructures we have. We hope that we have given you confidence in the infrastructures that there are, but you, of course, as a parent, have to make your own decision of what you're comfortable with for your child. And you can factor that Foreign Office guidance into it. It is just guidance, and it's also very broad general guidance rather than the more specific day-to-day activity-specific guidance that we receive during the course of Israel tour.
Thank you, Adam. So I know that some questions have come in about alternative programming or FZY, definitely running Israel tour. Will we be offering different programming? What's the situation with that? So as things stand today, FZY are running Israel tour, and we are only running Israel tour. As we've kind of outlined over the last 20 minutes or so, we believe that it is safe for us to do so. We believe that all of the precautions are there to do so, and all of the security partners that we work with, the Cheder Matzav, the Home Front Command, and everything that we've spoke about, have all mentioned how it is safe to do so. So as things stand right now, we are going ahead. We are running our Israel tour program. Of course, should at any point any of the partners turn around to us and say that that is not possible for us to do, then we would immediately cancel the program. And we'll talk about cancellation and what happens, what that means a little bit later on. But we are not, whilst it is safe for us to run a program in Israel, we are running Israel tour, as Lucy explained at the beginning of the presentation. For us, Israel is central to everything that we do, and as long as it is safe and secure to be there, which we believe that it is, and we are being advised that way, that's what we are doing. Should, let's say, in 2 months' time, 6 months' time, whatever that may be, the situation changed, and we are being told by the Cheder Matzav, by the Israeli government, by the Home Front Command, whatever that will be, that actually it is not safe to run that program, then obviously we would cancel the program at that point, and we would do everything that we could to build an alternative program in probably in Europe. But as things stand right now, we are not offering a program like that. We are only offering an Israel tour, and also just to share, we want to be honest. We think it's very unlikely that if Israel tour was to happen this summer, which we're expecting it to happen the same way it happened last summer, that we will not be able to offer Israel tour for those people which choose not to go on Israel tour. This summer, we won't be able to offer them that in 2026. We want to be able to make sure that we'll be able to offer that for the people who are a year younger. I think that's kind of wrap up most of the safety security things. So we want to kind of pivot a little bit now. I'm going to pass this over to Jake, who's talk us a little bit more about the program itself.
Thank you, Joel. So we will actually come back to some other stuff like finance and cancellation, but we just wanted to talk for a few minutes about the program itself. So the Israel Tour program has been built and developed on some key foundations, which were touched on by Lucy at the beginning. Very quickly, safety and security, as my colleagues have been discussing, it is at the forefront of any programming we run, whether that be Israel, whether that be abroad in Europe, or whether that be in England. But this will be, we've taken 4 cohorts to Israel since October the 7th, another one in 2 or 3 weeks for a volunteering trip. And so hopefully this will be the 6th cohort we've taken to Israel since October the 7th, with no sirens. And FZY believe in running meaningful and safe programming. And the safety of our participants is, of course, our primary concern. I think someone touched on this, but in this program, our madrachim, our leaders, will have additional post-war safety training and will, of course, have knowledge of all the shelters. In a couple of slides, we're going to talk about communication, but just super quickly, there will be a WhatsApp group created for parents, used for time-sensitive emergencies, and then you also see hundreds of pictures of your children every single day. Values of FZY. So Lucy mentioned this at the beginning, that ideologically, Israel Tour ties directly into all 4 aims, which is Magen, defense, Tarbut, Israeli culture, Tzedakah, help and charity, and Aliyah Nimshechet, which is visiting Israel and contributing to Israeli society. And we are so excited and proud to deliver another year of the flagship program that ties into all 4 of our aims. General core education, I'm going to talk about this on the next slide, but super quickly, that the content of this is specifically designed by our movement team, along with Aaron and his team on the floor in Israel, to ensure that our educational goals are met and everything that we want to do is made possible by Talim. And understanding Israel today, I think it's impossible to build this year's programming and last year's programming without recognizing the horrors of October 7th and life over a year at war. So we think it's super important for our Chanichim, our participants, to understand Israel in a post-October 7th world and kind of how the country has evolved. So we've reached my favorite slide of the presentation, because we just wanted to show you some of the highlights of Tour and what you and your child can look forward to. We've talked a lot, of course, understandably, about safety and security, but we want you to know how special Israel Tour with FZY really, really is. We truly believe that Israel Tour is a rite of passage for any British Jewish 16-year-old. I'm sure most of you on this call went on Israel Tour and can remember your fond memories. And we're proud to be setting the pace for youth movements in the UK. In the last 10 years, just wanted to recap what Joel said, because I was really impressed with this figure, that in the last 10 summers, we've taken almost 3,000 participants to Israel. And on the screen right now are some of their favorite bits. And while you're reading, I just wanted to tell you about the last bullet point here, which is FZY's Maccabea. Definitely something that brings FZY away from the others, definitely one of our USPs. Maccabea is something that sets us aside from the other groups. It's a full day event where all of our Israel tours will meet in person and compete in a bunch of different things: sport, music, creativity, and they just have a blast together. Some of them haven't seen their friends on other groups for 2 or 3 weeks. Some of them are just meeting new people, and it's just an incredible day. The tours will spend a few days with their friends and their madrachim planning for this. And this is kind of the center point of Tour and what we want our kids to really look forward to. But as you can see on the screen, we do hit all the classic tourist spots in Israel with other things that we think is super important. For example, Bedouin hospitality. We want to see how other people live in Israel, not just Jewish Israelis. Another couple of things: Masada at sunrise is an absolute must for any young people on tour, and of course Jerusalem and Tel Aviv.
Thanks, Jake. So I'm going to just touch a little bit on communication. One thing I say, we said it, I think Lucy said at the beginning, there were like 3 kind of like partners which was part of this program. Like in some ways it's really 4, and the 4th is really you as parents. We see you as a vital partner on this program, and as such, we want to make sure that the communication between us at FZY and you as the parents is as good as it possibly can be. So obviously in the process between now and the Israel Tour program actually leaving, there will be constant communication. We'll be sending out emails. You can always contact us via email on the phone, and we'll be here for you from the start of the process until after the Israel tour has come home. In terms of like what during the program itself, like what is our communication? So we will be sending email updates every single day except for on Shabbat, giving you a taste of what it is your children have been doing. It's sending you links to photo albums so you can see photos of them, videos of them enjoying themselves and having a meaningful experience in Israel. It was mentioned before that there'll be an admin messaging distribution WhatsApp group as well. Should there be a need for us to be able to, that we need to send you time sensitive messages and that we'd be able to send that. It's something that, it's not something we'll be sending continuously. It won't be something we'll be bombarding you on your phone throughout, but it's there. Should there be a need for us to be able to contact you in a time sensitive way directly to your phone. We have an emergency phone, so you can contact us 24/7. Our office will be open, and nearer the summer, we'll talk you through the office opening hours and how to contact us. But we have emergency phones, which are there 24/7. So should you have an emergency and there's a reason why you would need to contact us at any point, there is a phone line that you can do so the entirety of the time. Doesn't matter what time of day or night, Shabbat or midweek. It's absolutely fine. There's a crisis management communication hub. Like Adam mentioned when he was speaking through what the UJ Israel Experience do, they kind of like oversee the crisis management across the whole community for Israel Tour. And there are dozens of people, both employees and volunteers, who are engaged and on call throughout the summer to step up and to be there should there ever be a need. There will be on our main social media channels, we'll be uploading content about what's happening over Israel Tour, so you can keep in communication that way. And also participants are allowed phones over the summer as well. Like we'll go into that in more detail should your son and daughter sign up a little bit nearer the time. And we work with an organization, a company that can provide SIM cards at a good rate. So you can also, communication will be directly with your son or your daughter as well. So that's a little on communication. Aaron's going to share with us a little about the medical insurance policy that we provide now.
Yeah, so the medical insurance is provided by Tzlalim. We receive all the medical forms beforehand and approve them all with our insurance company and advise FZY if there's anyone who may not be covered for certain things. But in general, it is a very comprehensive policy. It also includes pre-existing conditions which have been stable for the past 6 months. It's very comprehensive in that the participants are traveling all around Israel, and there is treatment and places for them to see medical personnel everywhere where the group is going, and also nowadays includes also online options. There are some small exclusions of the policy, which are things, many of which are against the program rules in any case, but the main exclusions: alcohol, drugs, self-inflicted injury. These are things which wouldn't be covered if the participant requires medical treatment as a result of any of those things. Dental and mental health treatment, apart from emergencies, there is some coverage for first aid in those areas, but not for continued treatment. But again, it's only 3 weeks, so there shouldn't be much of that in any case. And injuries relating to war or terrorism, these are covered by the state of Israel. So medical insurance has some exclusions for that, but the national insurance in Israel covers those things. Again, we've never had to utilize that cover, but it is something which is available if it was to be necessary. And we've sent FZY both a summary of the coverage as well as the full policy, which is many pages long, so probably not necessary to read that, but the summary is available, a 1-page summary to see what the coverage does include.
I'll just quickly give a brief overview of the travel insurance policy that's in place. So something to point out is it's the same policy that FZY have used for the last 2 years on Israel tour, so predating October the 7th. So there's been no change in the cover that we've been able to provide. That travel insurance policy is taken out in the UK. The policy covers participants during times of war, even with the Foreign Office's current guidance. It doesn't cover claims brought about as a direct result of war, but there are a number of different mitigations that within the Israel Tour network we've put in place to cover war-related cancellations and things like that. The policy covers lost, delayed, or damaged luggage. That's the main reason that you might want to use this for a claim if anything gets damaged whilst your child is in Israel. And it also covers cancellation, curtailment, or disruption in a number of different scenarios, events that are outside of your control, for example, injury, family bereavement, travel disruption, etc. So if you, as a result of one of those reasons, had to cancel your place on Israel tour, you would most likely be covered, depending on what the certain situation was. You would be able to claim on the travel insurance for the cost of Israel tour so that you weren't to lose out. Details of the cover is also available on the FZY website.
Thanks, Adam. So we're going to touch now, before we head over to questions, we want to finish up with the finances. So the price of Israel tour this year is £4,575, which is a very similar price to last year. It's gone up by less than 2%. And that's the price for the program, and the price is fully inclusive of pretty much everything: of flights, accommodation, food, travel, activities, security, the staffing, the medical and travel insurance policies we spoke about. Like, it pretty much is fully inclusive. The couple of things where it's not inclusive of is spending money. If a person on tour wants to buy an ice cream, wants to buy a souvenir as a thank you present to their parents for sending them on Israel tour, things like that, like their spending money is not covered. And there's a refundable damage deposit that we ask for, that assuming that there's been no damage done to the hotels or hostels that we're sleeping in, or any of the sites that we visit, assuming that your son or daughter doesn't cause any damage throughout the time, they will get that back at the end of the summer. In terms of the payment, there's a £500 deposit which is required on booking, and then the balance of payment is required by the 24th of April, this coming April. So it's, as I'm not sure that actually was mentioned specifically in the slide coming up, so I'm just going to double mention it again now. Like, applications open on Monday at around 9 a.m. Monday morning. That's the plan, to be opening the applications. So if you wanted to apply at that application, you would need to submit a £500 deposit. Financial assistance, like, I think it's been mentioned before in this presentation, that like finance shouldn't be a barrier for participation on Israel tour. We recognize and we understand that, you know, it's not a cheap program, but the program is a very impactful program. It's one which really it builds both friendships and values which can last for a lifetime. And therefore, for us, for FZY, for UJA, for the community as a whole, it's really important that people come on this program. It's something that we believe is important. And as such, there's a lot of financial assistance which is available for those which have a financial need. There is a whole process. There'll be, on the initial application form, there'll be a box there to tick. If you require some financial assistance, you would tick a box, and then you will be taken later on in the process. Someone from the FZY office will reach out to you, and we'll talk you through the process in detail and how everything works. You should know that the process is completely confidential, and outside of that person who you'll be speaking with from the FZY office, her name is Claire, she's one of our program administrators, no one else will know about the bursary financial assistance process. The people who are making decisions about bursaries, etc., will not have your name. Everyone, it will all be anonymized. So I think that's the right word. And yes, so but what is available, there are bursaries which are available both through FZY and through the UGIA. And there's also an interest-free loan provision which is available through the UGIA as well. There's just one set of forms that you would need to require. You don't need to fill out, different forms for each of the different organizations which will provide this. We try to make it as easy and smooth as possible. So yes, if there is a financial need, Claire in the FZY office will be the right person to speak to, and she will be able to talk you through that process in a little bit more detail.
So this year, we are very pleased to be able to offer an additional subsidy. It's brand new this year. It comes from an organisation called Mosaic Teens and match funded by UGIA. And so this is the UGIA Mosaic subsidy of up to £2,200. We say up to because it depends on the length of the programme, but for FZY's programme, it will be the full £2,200 that some people will be able to receive off the price of tour. The subsidy is designed for applicants who have had a limited engagement with Jewish and/or Israel experiences in the past. There are two: geography. So if because of where you live, you have limited access to Jewish communal hubs. So if you don't live in Northwest London, Southern Hertfordshire, Manchester, Leeds, the main Jewish communal hubs, you may be eligible for this subsidy. And then the other factor is programming. So if you haven't been on a youth movement residential camp in the past, if you haven't been to Israel before in the past, you may also be eligible for this subsidy. There's no guarantee if you think you tick one or two of those boxes. There's no guarantee. If you tick all of those boxes, the chances are you're probably going to get this subsidy. But within that, each application is looked at on a case-by-case basis, and we're able to allocate the subsidies based on those we feel are most at need and most meet those criteria. The way it works, there is nothing different you need to do. You don't need to apply for this subsidy. Everybody who applies for Israel Tour across the whole network is automatically considered for this subsidy. And we will make the people who have been awarded a subsidy based on the criteria will be told about this before the application deadline on January the 31st. So towards the last week or two of January, you'll be informed if you have qualified for a subsidy and if you're being granted that money off. And that will allow you, we wanted to do that as early as possible to allow people to make their decisions based on whether they've been granted that subsidy before the application deadline, so that there was time for you to manage your plans for the summer. So we're very excited to be able to offer that this year. We're hopeful that everyone who needs one will receive one of these subsidies. It's not means tested, as I say. Everyone is assessed for this subsidy. And we're very excited about it. I think one of the benefits this year is there are other restrictions that mean some other programs might not qualify for this subsidy, but FZY's Israel Tour, the traditional Israel tours qualify for this subsidy. So we hope that we can really benefit FZY families this summer.
Okay, so this is, I think, the last slide before we're going to open up to questions. So thank you all for bearing with us. Just want to explain what the cancellation policy is. Firstly, you can see the full cancellation policy. It's available on our website, and also it will be available, like it's in the terms and conditions, which you will also see throughout the application process, and also available on the website. So I mentioned before, on application, there's a £500 deposit that is required. Should you want to cancel after you have applied, that there is a full refund less a £150 administration fee if you cancel before the 30th of January, before the end of January. So you would receive the full £500 back minus the £150 admin fee if you were to cancel before the end of January. After the 30th of January and until 61 days before the program, there is a full refund of monies paid, minus minus the deposit and an admin fee. So the deposit is obviously the £500 deposit, and the admin fee being £150. So until around beginning of May, give or take, that's the financial commitment, and that's what you would receive back if you were to cancel. Then from 60 days until then, there's a sliding scale refund of what you would receive back if you were to cancel. As I said, the full information is there on our cancellation policy, which you can find on our website. What would happen, like if we were to if FZY were to needed to cancel or to curtail the program? So mentioned before, like the reasons why potentially we would do that is if we were advised by the Home Front Command, the Cheder Matzav, or the Israeli government against coming to Israel, or that we're already in Israel and they advise us to leave Israel. As we mentioned before, we're not the security experts. We're not making those decisions as to whether it's safe or not safe. We'll take the advice of the security experts that are. So if they were to tell us that, then they're the reasons for us to cancel the program. And the other is that if it allows us to stop flying between the UK and Israel, and we were unable to bring people through to Israel, then obviously that would be another reason. Should that situation materialize, which we believe is to be very unlikely, but should it materialize, and FZY had to cancel or curtail the program due to like safety and security, the contracts that we have put in place, both with Tlalim and with other suppliers, are there to safeguard your money, the money of the parents. We are committing to give a refund on all money that we are able to recoup. We will pass that directly back to you as parents. And as you said, the contracts that we put together with Tlalim and our other partners, other suppliers, are such that we believe that a large percentage of the money we believe that we would be able to get back and to safeguard. So that we put a lot of measures in there to try and safeguard your money. So I think that does take us through 2 questions. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and we're going to pass back to Lucy, who I know has been keeping track of the questions.
So thank you all so much, firstly, for watching the presentation. If you do have a question, you need to be a subscriber of FZY's YouTube channel, and then feel free to type your question into the chat, and I will ask them. So we've already got a couple in. Adam, I feel like you're the best person for this one. But does armed security guard with the group mean 1 guard per bus?
Yes, so the plan at the moment is to have 1 armed security guard per bus. Obviously, there might be certain situations where that needs to be increased. That wasn't necessary over the summer just gone, especially in the locations that you're going to be going with FZY, but it'll be 1 armed security guard per bus. As it stands at the moment, obviously, we'll take guidance. We'll see how things go over the next few months.
Thank you, Adam. Joel, maybe this question for you. How will you educate about October 7th and Israel after October 7th? How will you educate about the war itself, and what position will you take on the war and Gaza?
Okay, it's a great question. I'll actually answer the second part first. That's all right. We don't take position. I think Lucy, you said at the beginning of the presentation about who we are, FZY, and our value system. We're a pluralist youth movement, pluralist both religiously, but also in terms of politically as well. So we don't take a position as to whether the policies of the Israeli government are right, wrong, or somewhere in between. What we plan to do and what we will do is to try to share with the participants different perspectives. Hopefully we'll get to meet people throughout the program who have been affected by October 7th, whether that was on the day itself or whether that's been at any point over the last 15 months, or by the time your participants come, almost 2 years. So to hear firsthand different stories and to understand a little bit about their perspective, from their perspective, what they went through and the challenges they're having now, or what they went through on October 7th. Like the only message that we will be giving is a Zionist one. Like as a Zionist youth movement, we will be giving a Zionist message, but it's not a left-wing Zionist message. It's not a right-wing Zionist message. It's not a central Zionist message. It's one of that we believe that Israel has a right to exist, and we will kind of like the education and the people who we will bring to speak to the young people and the madrachim and the staff itself will be educated based on that.
Thank you, Joel. The next question, I'm sure anyone could answer this, but what are the dates for Israel Tour? I don't know if Jake, you want to answer or Joel?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. I believe on the top of my head, and I'm hoping I'm getting this right now, it's the 7th, 8th. So we have several different flights booked. They're not everyone will be leaving on exactly the same day. We're expecting to be taking several buses, several different groups to Israel. So we have flights booked to leave to go to Israel on the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th of July, and to come back on the 29th, the 30th, and the 31st of July. So everyone will have exactly the same amount of time in Israel. It's a 22-day program. So if you leave on the 7th of July, you'll come back on the 29th of July. If you leave on the 9th of July, you'll come back on the 31st of July. And you will have to some extent, you'll be able to prep. You'll be able to, if there's a specific reason why you would want to be on the earliest flight or the latest flight, or for one reason or another, within the application process, or you'll definitely be in contact with us. Let us know, like if you have a bar mitzvah or something else, which is important reason why you need to be on an earlier or later flight. Let us know. We can't make any 100% guarantees of that, but we will do our best to try and accommodate that, because there's a lot of factors which go into that in terms of friendship requests and making sure we have balanced groups and all things like that. But yeah, so it'll be 7th, 8th, and 9th of July to the 29th, 30th to 31st of July.
That actually leads perfectly on to sort of the next couple of questions, which I'm going to group together, which is a bit about how do friend requests work, how many people can be put down on the application, and how does it work, groups of friends being together?
So I'll take that, and if someone wants to add afterwards, they can do. No, our goal, we've had two goals really when it comes to the friendship request. Number one is we want people to be with their friends. Like we want them to have a really fun, positive summer, and part of that is to be with their friends and the people who they know from back home and they want to be with. The other piece of that is like we want to also make sure that each group are meeting new people from other places, either other places in the country, from other schools for themselves. We want to make sure that like each group is balanced in terms of in terms of like gender, balanced in terms of like where people are from. So there's a lot of different factors which come into play when we build groups, and I can say like in a normal year it actually takes like 3 to 5 days of like a couple of people working on this full time to be able to create the groups. That's how much effort and time it normally goes into it. Not on the initial application form. Like there's actually 2 stages of the application process. One is on Monday, applications will open. There will be a fairly short application form for you to complete. At some point very soon after that, a second form will be released with a bit more information, where we want to understand a bit more about medical details and about passport information and different things like that. Some of the questions on that second form will also be about friendship requests. Participants will have the opportunity to write down a maximum of 3 people who they would like to spend their summer with. It's in no particular order. Just want to make that clear. Even though it may look like it's 1, 2, 3. There's in no particular order. People have can write down up to 3 people. We will do our best to try and put them with as many people as we can. We will guarantee that they will be with at least 1 person who they write down on their form. There's also a space there, like should your son or daughter have, I don't know, experienced bullying in the past or any antisocial behavior, and there's someone who you think may be coming on the program who you feel like it wouldn't be a good idea for them to be with, or you have twins and you want them to be together or not want them to be together, there'll be a space there where you can also write some information. So the more information that we know, the better we will be able to split the groups. You should be aware that once the groups are split, and you won't know that until around Pesach time. That's roughly when that will be, just to give you a timeline. Unless a mistake has been made that we haven't given you someone who requested, it's almost impossible for groups to be changed at that point. So any information that you do have, it's important that you do include on those forms. So that's the process. That's how it works. The one last thing just to say in that is that as I said, we want people to be with friends. We want people to also meet new people. We will not be putting groups. We can tell you now, if you have, people who are expecting to come with like 8 or 10 friends and they all want to be together in the same group, we can say now that that's not going to happen. We won't be putting very large groups of people together. Groups of 3, 4, maybe even 5 is probably fine. But for anything more than that, it's going to be very, very unlikely they will be on the same together.
If I may add 1 or 2 things just before we move on from that, Lucy. I think it's really important to touch on the different dynamics that currently exist, and we're very aware of them. For example, your child might go to JFS or Yavna and be in a complete Jewish bubble and know who they want to go on tour with, which is fine. And we're happy to accommodate them being with at least one of their friends that they put down. But on the flip side of things, we also understand that your child might go to a private school or go to school in Essex or in Leeds, somewhere with a bit of a smaller Jewish community. We don't want worries about friendship to be one of the reasons that you wouldn't send your child on tour. We really put a big emphasis on our Madrachim training on cohesion, breaking down the group, getting to know you activities. This is what Lucy and I do for a living, and we're pretty good at it. We know how to bring groups together. So yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that if your child is on their own or only has one friend that might be going, feel free to let us know. Feel free to discuss it with us, and maybe we'll put it with who we think is our strongest leader or something like that. I just wanted you to know that we wouldn't want that to be a concern of yours.
So the next question is, how many groups are we sending and how many spaces have we got?
So I'm happy to answer this one as well. Look, it's an unknown quantity. Like there is a maximum. That maximum is a very high maximum. Like there's a certain number of flights we have, put aside in order for us to, we had to already, like, for about 6 months now, we've had flights reserved. So we know, up to what number. But I can tell you now, like the largest amount of tours FZY has ever taken to Israel was 2 summers ago in 2023. We took 13 groups to Israel, which was about 550 participants. We have the ability to be able to, at least with the number of flights that we've held, to be able to take that number of people again. You should also be aware, by the way, on that summer, we sold out in less than a week. So, that's kind of like, there was a huge demand that summer, and many summers there's a huge demand. So we are preparing to be able to take a large number. In terms of how many people, it's we don't know. Like, we recognize that the situation in Israel over the last 15 months has been difficult. And we recognize that there may be some people in the community who don't feel comfortable and safe right now to send their children to Israel, and we understand that and we respect that decision. So we don't know. Last summer, we took 5 groups, around 200 people on FZY. We ran a very, very successful summer. I would, hope that we will be able to see, an increase on that, but it's a very difficult question to answer. Maybe in a week or so from now, after applications have been open for a week, maybe we'll be in a better position to answer.
Something I just quickly want to add about groups and group sizes is something that probably isn't going to change is the group dynamic, which is around 40 chanechim, 40 participants per group. And there's going to be, as was stated earlier, 4 leaders with that group, 2 who are Israeli, trained and hired by Tzalim, and 2 who are British, trained and hired by us, FZY.
So the next question is, how will flight deviations work?
Adam, do you want to take that one, as UJ's experience deals with
Sure. Yeah, no problem. So on the initial application form, which is what you'll look at on Monday, which, as Joel said, it's a relatively quick form. You don't need to worry about friend choices at this point. You can just get your application in. So there's a question there which asks, are you thinking of deviating your flight? What that means, you have three different options. If you would like your child to stay longer in Israel afterwards, if you want to do a family holiday after, or if you're traveling back to a different destination, you don't want them to come back to London, you have three choices. You can either choose to deviate your flight, which you can choose another El Al flight back to London on a different date. And there's a £75 charge for that, but you can pick whatever date you want to come back on an LR flight to London. The other alternative is you can cancel your flight back and you'll get a bit of money back, or you can cancel both flights and get a bit more money back. On the initial application, you just need to say yes or no whether you're thinking about it. There's no commitment. You don't need to know your dates of whatever holiday you might have planned or whatever it might be. And you can also change your mind later on down the line. So there's no commitment. It's just so that we know a rough idea of who to get in touch with and how many people to expect. If you do need to cancel both your flights, if you're not going to travel out with a group, before you do that, that's something you should discuss with FZY, just to understand your specific travel arrangements and parameters. But we try and accommodate as many requests as we can. There is a deadline for that, which I think is in around about April. So you'll do the initial application. You'll say, yes, I'm thinking about it. Probably in around about January or February time, you'll be sent the actual form to request the specific flights you want to change to and so on and so forth. And the deadline for that will be around about April. Once that deadline has passed, we can't make any more changes. So just, and that's a firm deadline with LL, so we can't get around that, unfortunately. But those are the options that we try and be as flexible as we can up until that deadline.
Thank you, Adam. Aaron, this might be a question for you. What will the tour look like? So we mentioned some volunteering, but kind of what other things will be going on during the tour?
So I think it's a lot of things, so probably difficult to detail everything now, but we try to balance the days to be a mixture of educational activities, whether that be museums or hikes, which we also see as an educational element of the programs. Walking the land of Israel, seeing Israel's nature is also an educational aim of the program, and that is mixed in with like fun attractions as well. So some of which Jake mentioned earlier, kayaking and water sports, sand dune surfing. You know, there's lots of like very, very attractive things that the groups do. And you mentioned volunteering as well. That's definitely a focus that we put on specifically last year. Each group did at least 2 or 3 volunteering activities. We try and balance that with some sort of agricultural volunteering, which is a bit tricky because of the heat in the summer, so you can't be outside for doing agricultural work for very long. But that food packaging that we work with for needy families, for working with soup kitchens, things like that. We did that with an organization called Leket last year. We did visits to Save a Child's Heart, and also visited Magen David Adom stations. We did volunteering with Gift, which is a UK charity which has a presence in Israel as well. So a very rounded program which includes both education, attractions, fun things, and also volunteering.
Thank you, Aaron. Just to add on that as well, like there's also the FZY like Shabbat, which is built by the Madrachim, and the Pulot, where we kind of run sessions during tour as well, which is kind of going to be part of the whole tour schedule. The next question is, where will the application form be on Monday? Which maybe Jake, you can answer this one.
Yeah, I can answer that. So it will be in multiple places. Monday morning, 9 a.m. The first place it will be is on our website. So our website is being updated whenever it needs to be, and right now it's updated as of everything apart from the application form on the Israel Tour section. It will also be on our social media channels, which is Instagram and Facebook, and you'll be able to click directly on that and go straight to your application form. And thirdly, if your email is on the mailing list, which it should be, seeing as you're on this call, it will be emailed to you. If there is any problems about that, if your email isn't on the mailing list, feel free to give the FZY office a call tomorrow, or feel free to email me at jake@fzy.org.uk, and we'll make sure that you're added to it. But if you're not emailed, you can find it in one of the other channels.
Thanks, Jake. The next question is about if your child doesn't turn 16 until the end of July, would they still be able to go on the programme? Joel?
Yeah, I'm happy to say that. Yeah, yes, they can. There's no difference between a participant who's coming at 15 or 16. Absolutely, it's for people who are graduating from year 11 in Scotland. I think that's S4. But I may, if there's any Scottish people on the call and I've got that wrong, I apologize. But yeah, it's for people who are graduating that year group. So we recognize most people are 16, but people like myself, I'm an August baby. When I went on Israel tour, I was 15, and was 15 for the entirety of Israel tour. So that's fine. And we have every year people who are start Israel tour at 15 and finish Israel tour at 16. And if you have any children who are coming and it's their birthday there, then we'll make sure to celebrate that with them as well.
I was just going to quickly add that birthdays on tour are really a great day, and if your child has a birthday on tour, then definitely speak to us, and we will do everything we can to make sure that they have the best birthday.
And I think we've just got one more question before we wrap things up. How do we accommodate for less able children, sort of from a physical ability point of view? I don't know if Joel, you want to take this one.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we want to be able to bring everyone onto the program. That's our desire, that's our goal. That's also a legal requirement as well. As part of the application forms, on the second application form, which we've mentioned a few times, there's a detailed questions about people's both physical health, their mental health. There is also forms that your GP and there are other avenues if it's difficult to get out via your GP, but from GP records, we need to get reports from them detailing about your physical and mental health. For anyone who has seen a specialist over the last few years, they're required to write a report as well. And all of these things should be happening kind of like as soon as that second form is sent to you, which will hopefully be fairly soon after you've applied on the first form. All of that information will come through to FZY. Once we have that, we have a dedicated team who will be processing those forms. We have the last few years, we've worked with like a clinical psychologist who's an FZY alum, who was not just a participant on the program, was also a madricha, one of the leaders on the program, so understands both mental health and what the needs of people with specific and mental health conditions, and also what are the needs, what are, on the program, what are the challenges and what are the risks and everything there. And we work with doctors and other people similarly as well, and that every single person who required will have a care plan which will be built for them. There will be conversations throughout that process. There will be times, sometimes that may just be through our administrators who will be contacting you for some additional information, for chasing up information. There may be some conversations with that clinical psychologist or with other people, either myself, as I'm FZY's designated safeguarding lead. So it could be conversations with myself or other people, and we will look to make adjustments to the program, reasonable adjustments for the program to allow people to come on the program, and that can take many different forms depending on what their need is. So what I would say is if there's something specific, like in someone like individually for your son or for your daughter, they may require some extra support or some extra help. The sooner we know that, the sooner we have that information, the more likely it will be that we'll be able to put in infrastructure in place to be able to support that. And that's our goal, is to work with you in order to do that. So I can't give you an exact answer of what that will be, but in the past we've had one-on-one support workers, in addition to those 4 staff who have come on the group, we've had other people who have come onto join the program to be with one-on-one with a participant. We've had, we've adjusted certain programming, certain itinerary pieces. We've put lots of different things in place in order to be able to support people. So if you have a specific question, I recommend that you call the FZY office or through the application form, raise that.
I did say last question, but two more have come through that I think we can quickly answer. So we'll say these are the last two questions. If there are any more, please do get in touch with the FZY office or email, as Jake said, jake@fzy.org.uk, and anyone of the team will be happy to help. So the first one is, will there be a pre-meetup so the individual tour kids can get to know each other?
There is unlikely to be a pre-meetup in person. There's like it's challenging because we're a national program. It's sometimes challenging to bring people together from Glasgow, from Leeds, from Liverpool, from Manchester, London, Bournemouth, wherever people are coming from on the program. So sometimes that's challenging, and we have been very conscious of like the price of the program, and if we wanted to do that, that will add several £100s onto the price of the program. We've been very conscious of that. So in terms of like an in-person meeting, that's very unlikely to happen. However, there will be ways that we will be connecting participants before the program begins. Their staff will kind of like form groups or via WhatsApp, via online forums. There may be a Zoom meetups beforehand between the staff and the participants in their groups, and a variety of other kind of like innovative methods that we will try to do so that people will come on the program having already had some, have already like know who the people in their group are. We'll also, before the flight, we always meet up in London. Like before the flight leaves, we always meet together in London for a few hours to do some get to know you games before they don't just turn up to an airport, get on an airplane, not really knowing everyone. So we build that in. There's a few hours in London where everyone will come together before getting on the flight, where we do some of that as well.
And finally, a bit about a question on unsupervised. Will there be unsupervised time outside of hostels and outside of the schedule? And will there be a chance to meet up with any family based in Israel?
That's another good question. So yes and no. I'll like, actually, Alan, do you want to answer the unsupervised piece?
Yeah, so there's no unsupervised time at all. There is free time, which is facilitated free time, and that it's in a very specific area where they're made aware all the time where the security guard is going to be sitting, where the staff will be. Usually, it's in a with a visual line of sight, and also they go around in small groups, never on their own. And again, only in places which we have received the guidance that it's okay to do so. And there are family visiting times which are sent out in advance, where it's usually one time per tour group, where there's an evening where family or friends in Israel can visit the participants, and we try to do that at a time which is as convenient as possible and in a location as convenient as possible. So it's always endeavored to be in central Israel, somewhere not far north, not far south, where visitors can easily get there. So yeah, there is that time.
I just want to reiterate on the free time. There'll never be a time where the madrachim aren't there and aren't responsible for your children. This is like a full-time role that they're signing up for, and they know this. So, for example, as Aaron said, if they've got an hour free time in the mall, for example, the madrachim would specify where they can go between X and Y and what time they need to be back, and we're pretty strict on this.
So yeah, thank you all so much for all those questions and for coming tonight and hearing more about FZY Israel Tour. It's something we are super proud to be able to offer. We had an amazing summer last year, sticking with our ideology and values. It's an experience we want to give to as many young people as possible. So we really do thank you for coming onto this call and speaking to us. And we want to work with you on this. So please do feel free to contact us at the FZY office. And we're happy to jump on a call. We're happy to exchange conversation over email. And we really, really are kind of happy to make this work. So thank you all so much for coming, and we look forward to seeing your sign-ups on Monday.